Good morning and welcome to another webinar. Both David and I are here, and as we always do with our webinars, if you have thoughts, questions, or things that you want to say, feel free to drop those in the Zoom chat. David will be watching that, and he'll do his best to answer questions and follow up on stuff. And sometimes I'll see it, and I might comment on something that you drop in the chat. But we'll do our best to answer any questions that you have. As always, if you have like a support question, definitely send an email or jump on the phone after the webinar. It's usually a little easier for us to troubleshoot those in a one-on-one session instead of a group session. Having said all that, like I said, we're going to get moving real quick. We scheduled this a little shorter this morning, and I want to make sure we get through everything. Before we get started, one thing I'll mention is that we are sharing this presentation at IASBO next week. Both David and I should be there, barring any crazy travel situations, and we'll be there both Thursday and Friday. And if we haven't met you in person, please come up and say hello. We would love to put a face to the voice that we hear on the phone, and we'd love to just meet you one-on-one at the conference. What that means is next week, support will be limited Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday because we need a little bit of time to travel to Boise. And then obviously Thursday and Friday will both be at the conference, and then Friday afternoon we'll both be traveling back home. So if you have support questions, definitely get them in this week or very early next week. Otherwise, we'll do our best to respond to stuff as we see it come in to our email or voicemail box. And most things will probably end up waiting until the following Monday unless it's super, super urgent. Having said that, we're going to dive into the presentation, and this morning we're going to talk about just two main things, and I kind of got it on the slide here. It's where we are and where I2M is headed. And so the first part of this is we're just going to talk about the desktop applications that all of you are currently using. We're going to talk a little bit about the web application that we've been working on for a while, and then you're actually going to get a sneak peek of what that looks like, and I'll demo a couple of features that I'm kind of excited about, and I think you all will appreciate as well. So let's talk about where we stand today. We have a desktop application. We have 3 of those that you use on a regular basis, and we've been working for a while on turning this into a web app. And what that means is we really have kind of 2 tracks that are happening right now where we're working on the desktop stuff, making sure that it stays up to date, that it continues to work, and I'll talk a little bit about that here in just a minute. But we're also working on a web app, and this is a full-featured, I'll say, replica of the desktop applications. And what that means is we want to make sure that the web functions and does all the things that the desktop stuff does today, so that there's no disruption to your workflows whenever we make this transition. We want to make sure it's a very smooth and successful transition. And kind of the promise that we're wanting to deliver on is that the stuff that you depend on right now, the desktop applications, none of that goes away or disappears or stops working before we have a replacement ready to go. The other thing that we'll talk a lot about is everything that we're working on is Idaho specific. And I think this is a really important portion of how we're approaching the web application, is that it's Idaho specific and it's built for Idaho schools exclusively. And again, we'll dive into that a little bit here in just a bit. But before that, let's talk about the desktop stuff. The main takeaway here is that we want you to know it's going to continue to be fully supported, it's going to be actively maintained, and it's not going anywhere until we have, number one, an actual web version ready to go, and number 2, we have all of you moved over to that web version, which will probably take a little bit of time. And in the process of all of that, we're going to continue to make sure that the desktop works and it does all the things that you need it to do. So here's kind of what we've been working on and what we've been doing with the desktop applications. There are, of course, as always, necessary upgrades, things like ongoing work to support PERSI changes, things like the IRS and state taxes. We have to make sure that all of that continues to work. And as all of you know, things like PERSI are just massive amounts of work to make sure that they work correctly, that they submit the data in the formats that those entities require, so on and so forth. So we're making sure that we stay on top of those necessary upgrades and doing our best to do them as well as we reasonably can, as fast as we reasonably can, and get them into your hands so that you can keep your job moving forward. The other thing is trying to keep this software stable. A lot of you know this, but Lynn built this software a number of years ago, and it just continues to chug right along, and do all your day-to-day work. What's been tricky is as Windows updates happen, we have to make sure that our software continues to be compatible with Windows. And we're doing our best to keep up with those updates and making sure that as Microsoft changes Windows with things like ending support for Windows 10 and forcing everybody up to Windows 11, we're making sure that the software is going to work when Microsoft does some of those things. Sometimes those are quick, small little changes that we're able to make relatively quickly, and then other times it just takes a lot of work to ensure that the desktop applications will work smoothly whenever Microsoft releases those updates. And then the third bucket that we work on when it comes to the desktop applications are just kind of what we call quiet, useful improvements, small but high impact changes to try and make your lives a little bit easier. And admittedly, we haven't had a lot of time to work on some of these things. Perzi was a massive project for us, and then even once it was released, we had to do a number of revisions to make it compatible with some of the requirements that they had for the software. But we have a full slate, a plan of quiet, useful improvements that we really want to work on. And some of them are very small, but we think you'll actually really appreciate them when we finally get them ready to go for you. So that's kind of how we're approaching the desktop as it is today. Necessary upgrades, keep it stable and working as Microsoft and Windows changes, and then as we have time and we're able to get away from those big projects, we do small, impactful, useful improvements for you all. So here's the summer updates for the applications for this summer. Number one, we have an update coming for AB Report. The big thing here is you all know about the new Medicaid account that's been added. We've had to do a bunch of work to get that added to the budget report that you send off to the state. We're just about done with that. We'll send an email when the update is available to download. There's also several bug fixes that we've put onto AB Report. There'll also be a small update for the budget program, and this is just some bug fixes, a couple of things that you all have probably worked with David on over the last several weeks. We fixed a couple of those things, and we'll ship that out when the AB Report update is ready to go. So nothing super major here. The big thing is the Medicaid accounts getting added to that 100-page budget report that you have to produce. A couple of important notes here. As of the last time we checked, which was early this week, there are no changes to Perzi contribution rates. From our research, it looks like nothing will change with those contribution rates until sometime next year. We'll continue to monitor that and just make sure that that's correct and accurate. But as of at least early this week, it didn't look like there were going to be any changes to those contribution rates. The second thing I'll note is no changes to the Idaho state tax withholdings. Again, we checked earlier this week just to be positive. And this is a piece of good news because it means you don't have to mess with your tax tables right now. Typically, you end up having to do it, once in January and once in June or so. As of right now, no state tax withholdings from what we can see on the Idaho state tax website. So no changes to your tax tables this year. So updates this summer should be pretty straightforward. Just a budget update with some bug fixes, an AB report update with bug fixes, and then an updated budget report with that new Medicaid account for those that use it. Outside of that, there won't be any major changes for this round. So that will happen here real soon. Our developer, John, is hopefully putting the finishing touches on AB report. And like I said, we'll send you an email as soon as it's ready for you to download. What's coming next in the desktop? I'll give you a heads up now. The IRS is changing the 1099 e-file process, and they are requiring a new file type. So this is a fairly large project that we'll be working on soon. Nothing that you all need to do at the moment, but as we get closer to tax filing season, we'll let you know what's changing, what you might need to do, and any steps that you might have to take to be ready for e-filing next year. But again, the big change is the file format, which is 100% on us to uh, update that file format and make sure the program generates it correctly. The other thing we'll work on is W-2 changes. As you all know, there's some federal law in place where you will be required to report overtime hours and some of those other things. This is a fairly minor change in that we just have to get the right data into the right box on the W-2. So that's kind of the next round of big things that we'll be working on. And we're going to do that early so that when tax filing season comes around, it's already done and there's just no waiting in terms of the updates that'll be required to make both of those things happen. Outside of that, we're going to continue to make refinements and on some of the workflows that you guys use. David and I keep track of comments that we hear from you all, and as we hear those things, we try to organize them and to figure out like what is going to be the most impactful change that we can make. And we're really focused on trying to just deliver steady, non-disruptive updates, which has been really, really challenging the last 6 months. There's just been so many changes to PERSI, and some of the stuff with Windows updates has just been very, very difficult to do updates that are completely non-disruptive. But that is our goal, is that the next 6 months of updates are relatively low key in the sense that they get to you and they just work. And we're working really, really hard to make sure that they're just nice and stable. You don't run into any error messages and that type of thing. So that's kind of where the desktop stuff is at. Let's jump to the web. And this is the portion where are we headed? What are we working on? What does this look like? We've talked about this for a while, and I'm really, really excited to show you an actual live demo of what exists in its current state. Couple of disclaimers before we start looking at some of this stuff. Number one, this is an early demo. Everything that you see is subject to change, and it likely will change. It's also not a complete demo. You're not going to see every little feature that currently exists. And also, you'll not see every feature on the screen when I show you some of the screens. So just be aware that this is a very light demo. And I will also mention, I'm saving some of the more interesting stuff for the IASBO conference. And part of the reason we wanted to do this webinar was we knew some folks probably won't be there or able to attend, and some folks maybe won't be able to attend the user group session that we have going on. So this is a sneak peek. You'll get a little more if you show up at the IASBO user group, but functionally it's pretty much the same content overall. So let's talk a little bit about the web and where we're headed here. First, I just want to say it's coming. And the goal here is to build a modern, connected piece of software that you can use anytime, anywhere, and it does all the things that you need it to do in kind of like a single cohesive place. So no more juggling multiple applications. A single login gets you everything you need to do your jobs as business managers and managing school finance. A couple of really important things that we want to talk about here. We are building this for Idaho school finance. We're not creating a generic accounting software that's going to service, industries that all do government accounting. It is 100% focused on just Idaho school finance. So school finance rules are built directly into the application, and it's not going to be bolted on the side like a more generic platform, which means that all the things that you do now currently, having like PERSI built directly into the app and some of the Idaho specific reporting, all of that will be in the web version with the explicit goal of not trying to cater to everyone. Another thing we're really excited about is we've already built iFarm's guidance directly into the software, and I'm actually going to demo that here in a moment. We're again, school finance terminology, the language and the way that you work that is just built into the application. Instead of trying to be a generic catch-all for lots of different entities, it's just for schools, and it's only ever going to be for schools. So you'll recognize it when you look at it. And then finally, I mentioned this a couple times, but it's just a single integrated platform. Instead of 3 separate things, it's just going to be one single place that you can do all the stuff that you need to do. What's going to change? I think one of the big ones, and we talk and hear from you all quite frequently, is like, how can I access this, from say home or a place that's not my office? Because as we know sometimes you get the best work done when you are not in the office and you're away from everyone and there's nobody pounding on your door. A web software is going to allow access any time of day or night, doesn't matter where you're at. You'll, as long as you have an internet connection, you will be able to log in and do whatever work you need to do. Um, it'll be automatic updates, automatic backups. All of that will be taken out of your hands and you won't have to worry about it anymore. Another thing we're really excited about is user management. Any of you that have tried to add a user or update a user and the current software knows that it's a bit of a process, it will be significantly easier to add and manage users directly inside of the application. One of the things that we're really looking at is how do we streamline workflows? How do we make things more efficient? How do we make things faster? This is going to sound like a strange goal, but how do we not have to have you sitting and staring at a screen of our software so that you can focus on all of the other many things that you have to do on a day-to-day basis? We want you to be able to log in, do what you need to do, and then move on to the next task. And then another thing, stronger security. Everything that we're building features security kind of front and center. Now more than ever, schools are targeted at a really high percentage for scams and hacks. Some of you may be aware that just about a month ago, Canvas, one of the largest learning management systems for schools, was hacked. Millions and millions of pieces of data were stolen, and this continues to be a problem for schools. And so we are aware that we're dealing with and managing and handling really sensitive information, especially when it comes to your employees. So security is kind of a front and center theme for us, and we want to make sure that we're building stuff that is not susceptible to scams and hacks. Or if you do get scammed, there's really easy ways for you to stop them, recover from them, and make sure that nothing significantly bad happens to your school because of our software. So those are just a couple of little changes that we're really excited about. There's other stuff that we won't talk about today, but I think that down the road we'll reveal a little more of our plans. But at a high level, those are some things that we're really excited about with the web software. So one more thing, and then I promise we'll get to the actual exciting stuff. I want to talk a little bit about our philosophy for the web app. And our philosophy is get it right. We could rush this out the door just to get it in your hands and give you a web software. We don't want to do that because we want to make sure we're getting it right. Our goal is to make managing a school's finances easier and faster and allow you to do your jobs more efficiently and not be slowed down because of a piece of software. The other thing that I want to mention is we're not abandoning the desktop stuff. It'll be fully maintained and supported through however long the transition might take. And another core principle here is we want to make sure we maintain high quality personal support. One of the things that we're really proud of is how well we're able to connect with you all and make sure that we're doing our best to take care of solving whatever problems you encounter along the way. And we don't want that experience to degrade just because we're releasing a web app. So our philosophy is get it right, maintain high standards across the board, and we get it into your hands when it's actually ready. So that's a little bit about how we're thinking about the web application and just the I2M in general. All right, what to expect and when to expect it. This is a target timeline, which means it's subject to change, but these are our personal goals for getting this out into the wild and ready for usage. We're building right now. We want to do an alpha test in the spring of 27. We have a couple of schools who have indicated that they're willing to do that and migrate their data to an alpha test. An alpha test means that there will likely be bugs and things that we have to fix before we release it to the broader population of customers. And then in summer of 2027, we want to do a beta launch, which means we will take on a much larger group of you to migrate your data and start working with the new platform. Again, these are targets. This is what our goal is. We anticipate that realistically, it'll take several more months to get you all migrated over. We have a good number of customers, and we're not going to be able to migrate everybody all at with a single click. But when that happens, we'll systematically work through all of our customers to make sure you get migrated. And then again, the desktop stays fully supported through all of this. So no matter when the migration happens for you and your school, the desktop stuff will continue to work just like it always has. All right. The exciting stuff, and probably what most of you would like to see, is a first look at the actual web app. So I'm just going to preface this with the first couple of things that you're going to see here are just some screenshots, and then I will shift over to an actual live version of the website as it exists. But I want to touch on a couple of really neat things that we've built. And just again, it's early, things are in progress, things might change. You might see something here today and it'll look completely different 6 months from now, but this is where things stand as they look today. All right. So again, a single unified app. And I think I can make this a little bigger. Again, this is just a screenshot, but the idea here is that you're going to have a single place that lists all of the stuff that you need to do your job and manage your school finances. So you'll log in with one login, email, and a password, and everything that you need is kind of right there at your fingertips. It's just like a single menu on the left, and you'll pick and choose the things that you need on any given moment. And I think this will be a huge improvement. No more juggling multiple apps, no more having to log into multiple different things. One place, everything's there, and really accessible and easy to find the thing that you're looking for. Another thing that we've talked a lot about is security. Again, this is a huge component of what we're building and making sure that as we create a web app and you all migrate your school's finance data to it, that it is as secure as we can possibly make it to protect you from all the crazy scams and hacks that are out there. This is probably less exciting to you all, but your tech teams will love this. We have two-factor authentication built into the app, which you all know that as the type in your email, get a code, and then you enter the code to verify your identity. With any finance app, this is pretty standard, and we're making sure that you have options when we do this stuff. So you'll notice kind of on the screen here, you can do it via email, you can do it via text message. There's even apps that you can put on your phone to get those codes. But really important to us to make sure that your account stays secure at all times to prevent anything crazy from happening. Another thing, and I'll make this screenshot a little bigger, that we've built from the very beginning is what we're calling the audit trail. This is something that we hear pretty frequently from folks is, how do I know when something changed, who changed it, and what exactly did they change? As a business manager, when you log into the system, you'll have access to what we call the audit trail. And you can probably see on the screen here, it tells you who made the change. It tells you what changed specifically on the screen. It tells you when it happened, the date down to the very minute. I've got this blurred out because this is our web developers' personal information, but it will even tell you their IP address and the specific location right down to their city of where they were located when they made this change. You might be wondering, why the heck would I want any of this? Well, if you're located in Boise, Idaho, and you notice that someone is logged in from an unknown location, you'll know that there could be a problem. Maybe one of your folks has been hacked or scammed or something of that nature. But this literally logs every change throughout the entire system. So when something changes, you'll always be able to find it and see it here. And I'll actually show you a live version of this here in just a second. But this is a really important change because most accounting systems have some form of audit trail so that you as the primary user can always figure out, well, what the heck happened here? And this is a really nifty way for you to basically track everything as a business manager. Another thing we're really excited about is adding new accounts. And as we mentioned, iFarms is built into the web app. It's kind of a foundation of everything that we're doing. This is kind of hard to see, and it's going to be a little difficult to kind of see how neat this is from a screenshot. I've made it a little bit bigger, but this is just a reference that we've built. So if you're ever trying to figure out what account do I use, there's a reference tool just built into the app that you can go look at. Instead of having to track down, iFarms has the PDFs that they put out, and they have Excel spreadsheets that they publish every single year. we've just built it into the app, and then it updates automatically as iFarms changes stuff. This automatically updates, and you can use it as a reference to figure out what account should I be using for something specific. And I'll actually demo this here in just a moment, but this is pretty cool. Another thing that we've done, and kind of a common theme we've heard from folks, is like searching through the app for stuff. Any of you that have ever added a new employee and then you have to find their particular pay code, you know that the only way to really do it is kind of click the drop down and then just scroll until you find the right thing. What we've done is make sure that search is available on most every screen that you work on. And it works really, really fast so that you can find what you need. You can jump right to the records. You don't have to dig through menus. I don't know how well this is going to work when I go to the next slide. I did a video recording of the search, and we're going to try it and see what happens here. And just spoiler alert, this is all 100% fake data. These are not, as you can tell, real names or anything. So don't worry that we're exposing anybody's personal information. All right, let's see if I can make this work. I don't know how this is going to come across, but I'm on an employee screen and I'm going to search for someone with the role of teacher. And then it filtered it down to the one person in my list that has the teacher role. And then I realized, okay, I want to search for the last name, Bryce. You can see just kind of how quick the search works. This is present in all kinds of places that you might want to be able to find things quickly. Like I said, deduction codes, benefit codes, pay codes, all of those things where you have like large menus of stuff that you might want to quickly filter. We've added search that's quick, fast, and easy to find the thing that you need. Okay, so before we talk about what's next with the web app, let me switch to the actual web application here. Okay, I think you all should see what we're calling just a district dashboard here. This is pretty basic at the moment, but a couple things I'll point out. Everybody will have a dashboard when they log in. You'll be able to customize what you see on this screen. We just kind of have a couple of random graphs on here that probably aren't particularly interesting. But one of the things that you might be interested in is you'll be able to see who's logged into the system at any given moment. You'll see where they're logged in from. And this is just an example, but I am not in New Jersey, but for testing purposes, I am. The idea here is if you were to log in and see that Sean is logging in from New Jersey and you're expected to be logged in from Idaho, that would be a clue of like, hey, something is off here. I better reach out to Sean to find out why does his login say New Jersey. It'll tell you how many people are online. And again, probably not particularly useful information. This is just a demo, but this will give you some information about your district at a really high level. We have a fully featured, what we're calling district admin panel. This would be for you as a business manager to kind of manage all of your stuff. I'm not going to go through a lot of this because there's just a lot of things here. But I do want to talk a little bit about the audit trail. And this is, again, one of those examples of it tracks everything. So we're looking at our demo site that our developers put together. There's 370 different events, and this is just us testing stuff. But it's really, really handy for you to know like who's doing what with our data. Everything from when someone changes their login information, which is what this is, all the way down to, I'll probably have to scroll a little bit, but if someone changes someone's stuff on the lead tab, this is really, really handy, and you'll never again have to wonder what happened inside of our platform, which I think is pretty great. I also want to show off the iFarms reference tool, and account creation will work somewhat similarly to this, but this is just a reference for you if you're ever trying to figure out, okay, what the heck am I supposed to use here? So you would just select your fund, and all of this aligns directly to iFarms guidance. And you can see we've got the general M&O, and this is the description that's provided by iFarms. And so you can just work your way down through. I'll show you the search. So let's say I know this is going to be an elementary accounts. So I typed 512, it filtered it down to elementary. And then this is probably going to be, I don't know, we'll say benefits. So I typed 200. And as you build the account, it shows you kind of on the left, this is what your account number is going to look like. Here's the descriptions that are available that explain how these really should be used according to the iFarms standards. And again, this is fundamentally how building an account will work as well. There's obviously customization available because you might or might not use location codes or project codes, etc. But it's going to be much faster for you to add accounts, change accounts, update accounts, because it's just going to be a really quick fill out the form and the program will compose the account for you, which we think is pretty handy and makes it a lot easier when you're trying to get things updated. The other nice part about this is, in contrast to the modern workflow where it's like build the account and then you have to go like modify report formats and all of that, that'll all go away. Once you build the account and tell the program that it's active, all of your reports will update by themselves automatically. So it'll be a reduction in the number of steps to get your chart of account set up, and then really all the reports will do the work for you behind the scenes, which is pretty handy. One final thing I mentioned, this is the security stuff. Here we have just the two-factor authentication. You can pick how you want to authenticate. And I actually will show this. I think I can do this live. Here, we'll try it. I don't know how this will work over Zoom, but we're also making sure that speed is kind of a crucial factor in everything that we do. And you could see, yeah, that's my demo email. That's how fast we're trying to make sure things work inside this new system. And like I said, this is an actual website with live production stuff. So speed is another important component of what we're building here. So definitely have covered a bit, and I know we're a little over time, so I want to jump back and finish out the presentation here. So what's next? Number one, we'll keep you posted. You will begin to see over the next several months regular updates about the web application. We're not going to send out millions of emails here, but as we send out kind of the I2M newsletter, as we're calling it, we will start including tidbits about the web app, what's being worked on, what's updating. We've begun what we're calling a super user group. We've reached out to just a couple of folks right now to start talking through some of our ideas for the web app. That group will continue to grow as we figure out what we want to do and who we want to talk to and who has the time really to talk to us about the web app. If you're interested, feel free to let us know if you'd like to be a part of that group. Very low barrier to entry here. We're not looking for 1 million hours of your time. We're talking maybe one email a month where we ask some questions and ask you for some feedback on some of the things we're working on. And then, of course, finally, we will put out into the wild a modern, efficient school finance application. Key takeaways from today. Desktop is solid. We're going to continue to support it, work on it, make sure it works as intended for the foreseeable future. The web is coming, and everything that we're building is centered around the idea of being built for business managers. Idaho School Finance, your feedback, and specifically the jobs that you all do on a day-to-day basis, that's what we want to spend our time and energy working on. Those are the problems that we really want to solve, are the things that business managers need in order to manage school finance efficiently, quickly, and not get hung up on kind of the day-to-day minutia of the software. And then finally, just a hearty thank you. We're super proud of where the web app is headed, and we're really grateful for your continued trust. And we really think that this web version will be a really great experience for you and your schools and helping you, do your jobs as business managers. Thanks again for showing up, and we'll talk to you all soon.